Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this video I'll be taking you through the new balanced data slate released today for Kill Team. Great to see the new balanced data slate posted now and available to download at the Warhammer community site. I'll put links in the description below so you can easily find it, and I'll go through everything that was talked about during the interview today. So if you don't want to watch that video, it's like 17-18 minutes long. But what I've done here is condense all that information down into a shorter video so you can get the main key points that you need to know to find out how your kill teams are going to be affected by the changes. Before we take a look at the changes to the core rules and individual kill teams, I'd like to say a massive thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Master of Miniatures. I'm a big fan of this company and I've bought loads of models including this fungal tree ant. I've also featured some that they sent me in the past if you'd like to check those out. But they make some fantastic models for all your favourite games, Dungeons and Dragons, Warcry, Age of Sigmar. There's some great stuff in here for 40k and Kill Team too. So I can highly recommend checking out their website. The link will be in the description and the comments. And one thing I really like about them is that they promote their partner sculptors. I think that's really important. I love seeing these kind of collaborations, but definitely check out the website. Can't recommend it enough, and I'm sure you'll find something you'll want to add to your collection. Right, let's get stuck into all the changes that we're going to see. So if you want to download the core rule errata now with all the changes and the FAQ, then you can do that. Again, the link's in the description, really easy to find. Just click that and you can get this and read everything on the screen or download it as a PDF. You can see that there's downloads for not just the core rules, but many of the kill teams as well, including Star Striders, Galapox Infected, Hyrotech Circle, some big changes for a few of these, so they're all available to download. And then also the balanced data slate, which we'll be focusing on for the rest of the video. And you can also get the new Intercession Squad PDF. Quite a few changes for those. They've been affected as well by this new update. So if you want to get hold of the new rules for the Intercession Squad, again, free PDF download, everything you need to play them in campaign mode as well. But we're going to focus on the data slate and everything they talked about in the interview. So let's get started with that summary, and let's begin with what exactly is meta. What do they mean by that? I never really paid much attention to this when I started playing, but as I'm getting more competitive now, I'm starting to play match play a lot more. Typically I'm a narrative player, but now I'm really getting into the match play side of things. I found the meta is a lot more interesting than I thought it was, but basically meta is the trends that you see when you play the game, and that's the quote there from Elliot, who is the game designer for Kill Team. The game designers get these trends from competitive tournaments. They look at the win rates, they look at the pick rates, like how often people are picking different factions, and then they're always looking for a 45 to 50% win rate for all of the factions. They want to keep them in between that. That's the sweet spot. When faction win rates start going over or under that bracket, then they'll start making changes to try and balance things up, and that's why we get a balanced data slate. Let's have a look at a few points of note from that interview, and they notice that more factions are above and below now. Star Striders in particular were below 45, so some changes were made before, and now they're above 55, so they're going to be making some more changes and try and get them between that 45 to 55% bracket. And that's what they're trying to do, bring all the factions back to the middle. Let's have a look at the individual factions and see what changes have been made. And one of these factions, the Necron Hyrotech Circle, has seen a huge number of changes. The first of these changes is to the reanimation protocol's ability. Now it's going to be able to regain D3 plus 3 lost wounds. So before, I think it was just D3, wasn't it? So a few extra wounds now, so that's great. And now they can be placed within blue of that reanimation token. So a bit more flexibility in where you're going to be placing them now. But they can't be within engagement range of any enemy operatives. When you place them, you can also give them an order of your choice. So I think that's a massive change. That's going to make a huge difference. They're also going to see more flexibility with action points. In particular, the Plasmakite Accelerators Accelerate action is now 0 AP and within red instead of previously blue. The Plasmakite Reanimators Reanimation Beam ability now do not subtract 1 from the operative's APL for doing so. The Commence Reanimation Tactical Ploy is now 0 CP, the Phase Oculars Action Equipment, 0 AP, the Cryptex Command Action and Despotex Demand Action, 0 AP, huge changes, and there's also going to be some extra wounds added in there as well, and improvements to the ballistic and weapon skill characteristics of weapons. And there's more, as the Cryptek abilities will now last until they are next activated, so that's brilliant. I think if you play the Necron Hyrotech Circle, you've got to be happy with these changes. Next up are the Kazakin, and they were just outside of those perimeters. They haven't changed them too much, but they've added 1 to wounds characteristic of all the operatives, something they really needed, I felt. Then they've also added the following to the elite ability. Now, in each strategy phase, add 2 elite points to the pool. And they've also got an extra piece of equipment now, a basic combat blade. This is going to be 1 equipment point and is 3 attacks. Weapon skill 4 and damage is 3 to 4. So that's going to give them a bit more punch when they're getting stuck in close combat. That's some pretty solid changes there. Adding those extra wounds across the board is going to be brilliant, and always elite points are welcome too. Next up, we've got the Phobos Strike Team. They've got a couple of changes, with one being the Vanguard ploy. Here they can perform a mission action or pickup action for 1 less AP, and that includes opening doors because that is a mission action. I was really happy to see this. They're still my favourite kill team to play. I think they're fantastic fun, and they're the Orc Commandos, and they've got 1 change. Now, if you select a bomb squig, you can also select a Commando Grot for free. That's awesome, or vice versa. So you're going to now have 11 operatives instead of 10. I always felt taking the bomb squig always kind of set you back a little bit, especially if you couldn't get it there or blew up and killed your own operatives. But now having them both, I think that's a really fair change. I'm really happy with that. The Corsair Void Scarred get a slight improvement with the Void Scarred Gunner's Shredder. That now gains the Rending critical hit rule. And then the Star Striders, these are the ones that were below 45 and now all the way above 55. So they've dialed back some of the previous changes. The support assists see some of the buffs removed, and damage reduction abilities won't be as effective. And we'll cover that a bit more in a little while, because there's going to be some big changes to the Legionnaires and to the Intercession Squad. But for the Star Striders, now instead of the Undaunted Explorer Strategic Ploy being each time, they've changed it to the first time each friendly Star Strider operative fights in combat or a shooting attack is made against them. Now damage is halved to a minimum of 2, rounding up. Even though they've had some reductions, they have seen an improvement in the ballistic skill, improving the characteristic by 1 for the Architect Beam Privateer support asset. Let's have a look at the Navy Breachers. Now, Grenadiers can't use their grenades twice. They've also reduced the effectiveness of the Blitz tactical ploy. Now it reads, if you do either, you cannot re-roll the remaining attack dice. And we're seeing some changes to that damage reduction again. Now the Brace for Counterattack strategic ploy has changed to a minimum of 3 instead of 2. So that's one big change that are being used across a lot of the factions now. And it's not so much to reduce the effectiveness of a particular faction, rather to help those that were lower down on the table. Galapox Infected next. They've had some big changes in the past, but they said they were being more cautious now, and there's just going to be 1 rule change, and that's in Lead the Infection, and this is an ability that you can now only use it once per battle. Right, let's have a look at the damage reduction rules then. So in particular, the Intercession and Legionaries especially are going to be affected by these changes. The Legionaries are going to see the minimum damage raised from 2 to 3. And the Intercession Squad are going to see a reduction in their durable chapter tactic. Again, this is to help the other teams rather than hinder these teams. And finally, there's a change to Critical Operations 2022. Now, each player cannot score more than 16 victory points in total from the mission objectives during the battle. It used to be 12, but now, because they were seeing lots of draws, they've made it a maximum of 16 victory points from mission objectives. There's still a maximum of 4 for each turning point, however, but they've just gone up from 12 to 16, and hopefully that'll rule out those draws that they've seen a lot of, so reduce that number of draws and see more wins and losses. And there we go, that's a summary of the new balanced data slate. Trying to keep it to around 10 minutes so I can focus everything in and you can get the main points. If you want to check out the FAQs, the errata, which have seen just a few minor tweaks here and there, then everything's available to download from the Warhammer community site. Links down in the description below. A massive thank you to Master of Miniatures again for sponsoring today's video. I really appreciate that support and I hope you check them out. They're an awesome company that I really like working with and I can't recommend them highly enough. A big thanks to you as well for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope it gave you a good idea about the changes that we're going to see with this new balanced data slate. If you did like the video, please hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed already, it'd be awesome if you consider subscribing to the channel too. But I look forward to seeing you here next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games. A huge thank you to my Patreon supporters for helping me to keep going with these daily videos. I really appreciate that support. Couldn't do it without you. And if you'd like to join the Patreon community and support the channel too, there's a link down below. It would be awesome to see you there.